Yes, welcome to DC Economics. So today I'm going to take you through the part about inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is the persistent increase in the general price level in the economy. And what about inflation rate? The inflation rate, this is the rate at which price increases and it is expressed in terms of percentage. Normal inflation occurs due to different reasons. It may be the increase in demand or the shortage of goods and services supplied in the market, and so many other factors. As we continue, we'll go deeply and analyze all the issues that the causes, the effect, and how we can solve the inflation. Normal, the inflation rate is calculated by taking the price in the current year minus the price in the previous year divided by the price in the previous year times 100. So inflation rate is given by taking PT, that represents the price in the current year, minus PO, that's the price in the previous year, divided again by PO, that the price of the previous year times 100. So that is how we solve the inflation rate. So let's look at an example on how we can apply this formula in solving a different inflation problems. For example, if the current year price for commodity X is 200 Tanzania shillings and the base year price is 100 Tanzania shillings, find the inflation rate. So inflation rate is given by taking the PT minus PO divided by the PO times 100. So the inflation rate will be equals to the price of the current year, that is 200 Tanzania shillings, minus the price of the previous year, that is 100 Tanzania shillings, divided by the previous year price, that is 100 times 100. So the inflation rate will be equals to 100%. So that is how we solve. After looking, so now let's try to discuss on the issue of types of inflation. Inflation can be categorized into two according to the rate of inflation and according to the causes. According to the rate of inflation, in this category, there are four types of inflation. So according to the rate of inflation, there are four types of inflation. The first one is creeping inflation. Creeping inflation, this is a type of inflation which occurs when the price rises by 2% to 3%. This type of inflation is not harmful to the economy since it can stimulate investment. Moderate inflation, this is a type of inflation that occurs when price changes by 4% to stimulate investment. So this kind of moderate inflation, it actually occurs when price changes to 4% to stimulate investment. This is like to say that under moderate inflation, this inflation could be not harmful to the economy since it is advantageous as it promotes out the investment. Third one is rapid inflation. This happens when the price rises at a rate of 6% per annum. So this type of inflation is harmful to the economy. We have also another types of causes of rate, that is hyperinflation. This is a type of inflation which occurs when prices rise daily such that people lose confidence in their currency. In this case, a new currency must be introduced. So this kind of hyperinflation had occurred in some countries, for example, Germany, Austria, Hungary. I hope so to say that even in Zimbabwe at the time of Mugabe. So hyperinflation, this is a dangerous inflation. This is a rapid increase of inflation, and it actually goes even more than 50% in the economy. So when a nation is faced with this inflation, it becomes very difficult and it takes too long and it takes difficult strategy to stabilize the economy. Another types of inflation is according to causes. According to causes of inflation, there are various types of inflation that include cost push inflation. Cost push inflation, this is a type of inflation caused by the increase in the cost of production, which is resulting from workers demanding for more wages. So when workers demand for more wages, it results to an increase in the cost of production. This is like to say workers cannot only shout and enjoy that their wages increases, but does their wage correlate with the actual daily life that they are facing, the issue where they meet their purchases in the market. So in order to cover the cost of production, firms may raise price of goods. When the price increases, workers will demand for more wages. So this will again increase the cost of production and force firms to raise prices of the goods and workers to demand for more wages. So at the last cost now, cost push inflation now will occur. So cost push inflation is also known as wage spiral inflation. So in that case, in order to cover the cost of production, firms must raise price. When the price increases, also the demand for wages will also come up. So this is a graph actually illustrates on this kind of inflation. Let's say here we have the left hand side, we have price 1 and price 2, and at the bottom x-axis we have real income. So under cost push inflation, what occurs actually when the aggregate supply shifts from aggregate supply 1 to aggregate supply 2, and when the price now increases from P1 to P2. So the rise of cost of production occurs as the aggregate supply shifts from S1 to S2. So when the aggregate supply shifts out backward, this is to say that the producers will increase the price in order to cover the cost of production. So actual inflation will occur. But also we have another kind of type of inflation, that is demand pull inflation. This is a type of inflation that is caused by excessive aggregate demand. When aggregate demand is greater or increases than the aggregate supply, it will lead to a rise in the price, which will result into inflation. This like to say that when demand is higher than supply, this means that this actual establish the environment for producers to think that it's a time of making profit. So price must increase. So it's like to say that this is a graph that presents out the price. We have P1 and P2, and we have the aggregate demand. So when the aggregate demand shifts from AD1 to AD2, also price will shift from P1 to P2. As a result, the effect of what is known as demand pull inflation occurs. So aggregate supply is constant since we are dealing with demand, as you can observe. So you must expect that the issue of aggregate demand to shift affects the price to increase. And the actual that results to what is known as a demand pull inflation. We have also another kind of type of inflation, that is structure or demand shift inflation. This is a type of inflation which combines some element of cost push inflation and demand pull inflation. So it occurs when there are changes in the structure of demand and structural rigidities in the economy. So when you speak about structure and demand shift inflation, you speak about the two concepts. You speak about the demand, the two combinations of inflation, cost pull and demand pull. Important inflation is the type of inflation that occurs due to importation of commodities from a country that is affected by inflation. It's like to say that those goods that are imported inside are affected by inflation, will result they also their price to increase. We have also another type of inflation type of inflation, that is expectation inflation. This is a type of inflation that transpires when buyers expect price to rise further. So buyers decide to make a panic purchases by buying more at high price. So at that time, at that moment, price increases. So this action of the buyers make the seller further increase their prices. Consequently, so as inflation take place. I hope this is an example in coronavirus. Some people actually try to buy needs for their homes, including food, by having a picture or depicting that in the coming times, these goods will not found. So this result to producers to increase price. We have also now another type of inflation, that is monetary inflation. This is a type of inflation that results due to monetary reasons, either due to excessive increase in money supply or money demand for transaction motive. That is, when money supply increases, it results to an increase in purchasing power of the people. But if the supply is less, elastic prices of goods will rise. So when the demand for money for transaction motive increases, it pulls up the prices of goods and services. So under monetary inflation, this is a type of inflation that resulted due to any changes in monetary supply, changes of money demand for transaction motive, as you can observe. So the changes in money supply and money demand may affect the price. Since this is what is actually applied, it could be a policy which affects both the business cycle to the consumers and producers. Let's look on the causes of inflation. Inflation may be caused by the following factors. One may be excessive demand for goods and services. Two, shortage of goods and services. If the supply of goods decreases while demand is constant, it may result in demand for inflation, but also increasing the cost of production. If the cost of production increases, producers are forced to raise price in order to cover the cost of production, but also the increase in government spending. If the government deficit is financed by printing money, it causes excessive money supply and lead to monetary inflation. But also the increase in direct tax. Indirect tax, such as value-added tax, have a direct impact on the price of goods. So when the government increases indirect tax, the price of goods goes up, the result of inflation. But also the issue of illegal activities. Illegal activities such as smuggling causes artificial shortage of goods and therefore rise in price of goods, consequently lead to inflation. Calamities like earthquakes, war, drought, food, etc. may lead to inflation because when calamities occurs, production of goods went down, and this results in the shortage of goods and services. So when the shortage of goods and services occur, and price goes up, so this results to what is known as inflation. But also, let's look on the effects of inflation. Here we discuss about the cost and benefits. If inflation is moderate, it can stimulate production because producers are encouraged to produce more because of the high price of goods and services. Second, it stimulates employment of resources. When inflation is moderate, producers increase production. So if increases production, they make profit and seek to employ. But also, the issue of income also increases. As a result of increase of employment, example of an increased income are salaries, wages, rent, interest rates, profits, etc. Let's look on the negative effects of course of inflation that may lead to a balance of payment problems. The import becomes expensive during inflation while the export decline because during inflation, the issue of exportation and importations become destable. So it needs to be stabilized in one way or another. It discourages also saving because people use a lot of money to buy goods and services that are sold at high price and the little amount remains as saving. So if decrease of saving, investment also decreases because the saving influencing investment. Another effect is that inflation results into a rural-urban migration. Since it becomes less profitable to grow cash crops in rural areas, people might migrate to towns to start business. This discourages agriculture in rural areas and also lead to urban employment. People with low income and those with fixed income, like pensioners, suffer during inflation because their regulatory income is fixed. So any changes that affects their price level affects also their income in the fixed account. Money ceases to be also a store value. During inflation, the value of money declines and money cannot perform its function as a store value. During inflation, also the cost of production increases, and therefore production is discouraged. In the case of hyperinflations occur, people now lose confidence in their currency. But also peasants are also affected during during the period of inflation. When they sold their goods and services, their price for selling goods, maybe internally and externally, is being affected. Let's look on how we can control inflation. Depending on the causes of inflation, inflation can be controlled by the following measures. We have monetary measures, and we have fiscal measures, and we have also non-monetary measures. Let's begin looking on monetary measures. Monetary measures, these are measures of controlling inflation, whereby inflation is controlling by controlling the money supply. So these measures are initiated by the central bank and implemented by commercial bank. So monetary measures is categorized. It can be monetary expansion policy or monetary contraction policy. So the tools, these are major instruments that are applied in between monetary expansion and contraction policies. We have open market operation. This is a market which involves buying and selling of securities. Whenever there is inflation, the government may decide to buy goods and services so as to remove the money from the pockets of the public to the hands of the government. In case there is a good stability, the government may decide to do whatever the case to stability. Also, bank rate, control of credit, together with the reserve requirement as well. The bank rate is the rate at which the central bank charges on the commercial bank. So the central bank may decide to charge high interest rate or bank rate for the small commercial banks so as to discourage lending or borrowing funds by the consumers, but also the control of credit as well. It may be stabilized depending on the situation of inflation or deflation in the economy. We have also fiscal measures. These are measures whereby the government control inflation by controlling the reserve, the revenue, taxation, and expenditures. So under fiscal measures, expansion and fiscal policy may be applied, or expansion and contraction policy, or expansion of fiscal policy or contraction may be applied. The major tools that are used under fiscal policy include the reduction of taxation, inch of taxation, inch of government spending. So if there is inflation, the government may decide to increase tax level, but also to reduce government expenditure. And if there is a deflation, the government may decide to reduce the tax rate, but also to reduce the government expenditure so as to bring the sustainability for the better standard of living and promoting the stability in the economy. We have also non-monetary measures whereby there is increasing of output. That is the most non-monetary measures that can be applied, the issue of increasing output. So when you increase output, you actually you are capable to offset out the issue of the problem of shortage, controlling of wages and other allowances, price control, but also indexation, that you link money payments such as wages, salary to an index of price, inflation that's related to help maintaining purchasing power at the same level. So thank you. This is DC Economics. Don't forget to subscribe and watch on other videos. Bye bye.